Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. March 13th, 2020, Sandy Pines Board of Directors, joint meeting with the Finance Committee as well. We got several people on different types of devices here that, we got Jeff is present in the room, Dennis, myself, Rick, and Kimberly are on site. And then I just wanna make sure we got, from the Board of Directors, we have Brian, Jenny, Chad, Ellen, and Paul. Is that correct? Is there anybody else that's on?
Jim's up.
Jim, thank you, Jim. And then if we could have, yeah, that's roll call, that's good. And then we'll do, the Finance Committee, if you could let us know who's here.
Okay, I have Bob Skytman, and then Kim Bohr. Okay, is there anyone else?
Okay, good. So
Howard?
Howard's with being Carter.
Oh, yeah, that's separate, so we know who's here, and, this is being recorded, so it can be shared with everybody. So, just so everybody knows that, and try to, if you're gonna speak, say your name, so we know who's speaking, so we kinda keep some order in this, controlled chaos, we'll call it for now, but, Dennis, would you do the invocation, please?
Our Father, as we come today this day, we thank you, Lord, for the blessings thou hast given us. We also pray, Lord, that you will wrap your comfort and love around the world as we face this serious time with this virus being spread around. Be with those that have lost loved ones, be with them, comfort them. And now as we begin this meeting for the Board of Directors for Sandy Pines business, we pray, Lord, thou have your hand upon us so that we would do the things that will help make this a better place. We ask this in Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, we have the approval of the minutes of the regular session of December 17th, 2019. Everybody should have received those. Is there any questions or comments?
Rick, this is Jenny. Before we go any further, way at the beginning of the meeting, you mentioned that it's March 13, and I think it's March 20.
You are correct. Thank you. Yeah,
Just want to correct that.
yep, I'm reading it off a sheet and I didn't even pay attention. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I think at this point, several of us don't know what day it is.
We didn't have that on
Yeah, we can do the, for those of us in the room, like I said, bear with us, we're trying to work through this. We didn't have the Pledge of Allegiance on there, but we would like to do that at our meeting, so the four of us will stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, back to the approval of the minutes of the regular session of December 17th, 2019. Everybody should have received those. Is there any question, comments, or concerns? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
So moved, Brian Elling.
Second, Jenny Hager.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? And that motion carries. Also, we should have a list of new park members.
Yes, we do. Got a list of-
Just give us kind of a
Yep.
Snapshot
So,
of what we got.
snapshot, we have no, didn't give me a total on here, so we have, roughly 15 to 16 new park members, and it looks like about 10 transfers.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the new park members that's presented?
So
Support?
Support.
Okay, Paul. Been moved and supported to approve the new park members as listed. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Opposed, the same?
Aye.
And that motion carries. We're gonna actually move around a little bit because we got different things going on. So now we're gonna jump down to item number 7. And we're gonna receive the finance report. And, I know Jenny's on the line. I'll ask you first if there's anything you wanna add, Jenny, and then we'll turn it over to Kimberly and she can kinda go through it.
Right. I just want to address the finance committee and make sure everybody that's here, and I have talked to a few that aren't here, that they've reviewed and asked any necessary questions and have gone through. I just want to make sure everybody's up on it before we move any further to bring it to the board.
And I apologize, Jenny, I remember you had mentioned earlier, was there one that you wanted to nominate to that committee that is present, so we can deal with that?
You're on mute,
He'll
Jenny.
come today at his office. So,
We missed the beginning of what you said, I'm sorry.
sorry, he is not able to attend. He had an emergency meeting at 2:00, at his work also today.
Okay, no,
His name is Jason Meyer. He's a controller, for Gun Lake Casino. He's currently working as their interim director of finance because that position is open. He's K251. And if you want to know more, we'll introduce him at the next meeting and do the vote then.
okay, that's no problem, I just remembered that you had mentioned that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Rick.
Yep, so we'll go back to, do you have anything to add about the financial statement? We'll start with Sandy Pines Wilderness Trail, November 19th through February of 2020.
Okay, I do have some highlights for Sandy Pines, and then we can go ahead and approve that first. The current cash and equivalents as of the end of February 2020 is up approximately $671,000 or 16.3% over last year. Our total member accounts receivable is down approximately $12,000, which is obtained by monitoring our 60+ days past due accounts. The current expenditures for the FEMA building are recorded under acquisitions grant funded. A reimbursement request has been submitted, just over $200,000, and is currently in the process of being submitted to FEMA. Current liabilities are down $407,000 or 67%. That's related to timing differences with outstanding accounts payable bills. Our total net income is currently down 8.9% from prior year. This is early in the year, with time dependent on the season. And it also includes, one thing I want to mention with our February statements is there is an additional pay run that was paid on February 28th, which skews our salaries from prior year. Our sales and hospitality gross income is up 48% from prior year. That's specifically related to commission incomes, which is an increase of 12%. Our sales have still been continuing through this off-season in a positive manner. Our transfer fee income is up 25%, and site rentals are up 25%. Our recreation net income is up $2,148 from prior year, which was only $293. This increase was specifically related to the Fall Fest and Winter Fest activities. Our rental for golf carts is up 32%, related to our online bookings in preparation for the upcoming season. Member service income is up 26%, and our retail center gross income is up 10%. Other operating expenses is showing an increase of 19% over prior year. As I mentioned, February year-to-date totals do include an additional payroll at the very end of the month. Without this payroll, other operating expenses are up 16% over prior year. Public safety payroll also includes salaries related to some overlapping with regular schedules shifts that were scheduled in addition to training that occurred, so some overlapping in pay for the public safety. Repair and maintenance, year-to-date, is up about 19% from the prior year. A lot of this is just continuing to work on things through the campground as the weather has provided. Our sticker expense is significantly higher over fiscal 2019, February year-to-date. This relates to the cost of the license plates for the new year that was put into the sticker expense. These costs are offset by the sticker income for the year that we will be obtaining after the renewals are in place. Our grounds maintenance is also up 38% over prior year, again, related to projects that are occurring during the off-season within the campground. So those are my highlights I had for Sandy Pines, up from November 2019 through February 2020.
Thank you. So the finance committee as well as the board has had an opportunity to review that. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns? Anything anybody would like to add? Hearing none, I would look for a motion from the board to approve the November 2019 through February 2020 financial statements for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Brian Gelling.
Second, Jenny Hager.
Thank you, Brian and Ginny. All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the November 2019 through February 2020 financial statements for Lake Monterey Golf Course.
Okay, and I have just a few notes for Lake Monterey. Our current cash equivalents as of February 2020 is down 9%, which is a pickup from the decrease of 30% at the beginning of the fiscal year. Our current liabilities are down 45%, and our other net loss is down 14.6%. There's not a lot of activity, obviously, in the golf course this time of the year. We do have some minimal public play going on there. Our member pay where they will submit payments within the clubhouse through the Dropbox, and we do see activity with the nice season, but other than that, the gross income was up 0.35% and total operating expenses was up 17%, and that was related to, again, it's been a good season at the golf course to get a lot of these off-season projects done with repairs and maintenance to the equipment, the golf course, and so forth. So those are my notes for Lake Monterey.
Great. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the November 2019 through February 2020 financial statements for Lake Monterey Golf Course as presented?
So moved.
Second, Jenny Hager.
Okay, who was the first one?
Jim.
Okay,
Jim.
Jim and Jenny.
Okay.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same? Okay, and that motion carries. So now we're gonna move back up to item number 6 on the agenda. I make a motion that we move to closed session to review some legal correspondence with our attorney on some legal issues as well as some financial investment information.
We'll do the finance stuff first.
Yep, we're gonna do the finance stuff first, and then the finance committee, you can be excused, and then we'll continue our closed session, and you can join us again back in open session after we're done with that. That's kind of why we move stuff around. So I made the motion, was there support?
Support?
Okay, been moved and supported,
Okay.
Rick and Dennis, and we'll do a roll call vote for the board members.
Okay. Ellen Carpenter. Aye. Rick Day.
Aye.
Brian Allen.
Aye.
Jenny Hager.
Aye.
Jim Huck.
Aye.
Kelly Johnson.
Aye.
Dennis King.
Aye.
Chad Holstrom.
Aye.
Paul Peppo.
Aye.
Okay. So
Okay, we're in closed session, so just hold on a second here. Okay, welcome back. We're back in open session. This is the continuation of the Board of Directors meeting of March 20th, 2020. And we're back in open session, and again, the closed session was to deal with legal matters, attorney-client confidentiality issues, and a review of an audit. So we're back in open session, and we'll continue on with item number 8, executive personnel, comments from the chairman. I would just like to mention a few things. One is the COVID-19 virus that is affecting us all in several ways, not only locally but globally. And I just want to ensure that everyone knows that anything that the staff is doing and the preparations that we're taking and the steps we're taking to protect everybody is not taken lightly. It is done, our administration is working closely with looking at CDC guidelines, county and state health officials, and decisions are made based on what the medical professionals are telling us to do and best practice, not just, off the cuff. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that, all the processes, as some may think it's too much or others not enough, and some may say, that it's all in abundance of caution to make sure, first and foremost, our staff is protected and all of us as members are protected as well. So Jeff will give us an update further down on that, but I just want to ensure everybody that we realize it may be an inconvenience, but if we all work together, and we'll get through this together. So the other thing I just want to remind everybody, with our 50th anniversary next year, that there's lots of opportunity for members, all members, to be involved at whatever level you feel comfortable being involved. The park last year made the decision to hire a professional planner to organize and work through putting it all together so we can have the best possible, hopefully, event for the membership in the park. So if any members that are listening to this, you want to be involved, please reach out. You can contact the coordinator through our website, and all the information is on there. But if you have a question, please reach out to Member Services, give a call to any of us, and we'll get you set up and in the right direction so you can be a part of that. Just make sure that everybody knows that that's going on. It's going to be a great time, and we look forward to it. The other item I just want to shortly touch base on is the FEMA shelter. Again, there's been a lot of questions and comments. My comments as the chair in the last footprints was not to tell anybody how to handle anything or what direction. It was to simply give guidance on what this board and 2 previous boards have decided on how this process is working out and where we came from. That was all vetted through our legal counsel, and the decision we make as a board are based on that. And that project has been in the works for well over 2.5 years. There's been decisions made at every step of the way that have taken board action, and that's where we are today. So that's well underway, and it's going to be a great asset to our park. And again, we collectively think that that's a wonderful asset, and we look forward to that. So that's all I have to say about that, and all comments from the park president. Jeff?
Okay, thank you, Rick. COVID-19 update. First and foremost, as you stated, we want to thank the members and the staff for their patience and flexibility and understanding that these are unusual times right now. So we are all learning together. Focus remains on the health and safety of the staff and the members. We did provide an update to the membership on March 13 on the website. If you have not had a chance to take a look at that, please go out and do so. There are some steps out there that, 1, we want to make certain that you're taking care of yourselves. 2, making certain that that is not being brought into the park and spreading into the park. And we have made some updates to our employee policies as well. As some of you have seen, we've asked for a lot more online interaction, phone call interaction. We have shut the administration offices down for appointment only if you need to come in. The public safety office is also shut down, except for by appointment only, unless there are emergencies. We are still staffed. We are still doing operations ongoing and preparing for the members to come back. As Rick stated, we are monitoring this regularly, and when we say regularly, it's daily, hourly. There's updates that are taking place fast and furious. And we are reviewing the state, local, federal, CDC, World Health Organizations. We're out there making certain that we are following the right process to protect everybody. So we have received a lot of questions about what ifs, and we can't really address the what ifs right now. They are great questions. We want to make certain that everybody understands that we are, you know, we're still planning for people to come here for the season. And the first hurdle that we gotta get through is this end of March, beginning of April hurdle, where we've made these requirements of social distancing and shutting down some of the offices. Then after that, the next hurdle is still to be determined. We're expecting everybody to come back on the 15th, as we indicated, but that could change. So, you know, we appreciate everybody's patience. We'll be flexible with the membership, and as you be flexible with us, and submit your questions to myself. I will answer them as quickly as possible. Josh will put a website out there as well. He's got a COVID-19 website out there as well. And we're all learning through this together, so we appreciate everybody's patience on that. Lake study released. So we did release to the board the lake study from Restorative Lake Survey that was done last fall. We did have a follow-up with them at the end of the year as well. That lake study, again, has been released to the board. There were many areas that were reviewed in that lake study: lake treatments, irrigation systems, erosion stabilization, the fishery habitat improvements, water quality, and lake activity. They all come with pros and cons, and there was a summary of recommendations that were identified. Those were released and presented to the board as well. Some recommendations have costs that still need to be addressed and determined. Some of the recommendations that are on that study we are already doing. For example, the lake treatment that we do throughout the year to take care of milfoil and things of that nature. So we have that released. We'll digest that information with the board, and then one of the next steps may be to put a committee on that, but we'll give the board some time to digest that information, and we can talk about recommendations and next steps. Any questions on the lake study?
Jeff and I talked about this, and it's 98 pages. We'll figure out how we can get it, a copy in the office, or get it up so people can see it and review it. We all have a copy of it, and we can, like we talked about, we feel that, and you guys, your input, but I feel that we really need, there's a lot of information in there. The lake is one of our great assets, and I don't want to make decisions based on, a single item. That's why we thought that, we don't want to committee things to death, but it would be appropriate to get a committee of staff, board members, and members, not that just live on the lake, but some that are on the water, some that aren't. And we could come, hopefully, it's not going to happen overnight, but they could work through that and come up with some realistic recommendations to the board on how we maybe address some of that financially, and what's important to the park, what the members think, the level of ownership of that asset that we want to take. And so we could put that together, but not that it would go on and on and on for years, but it's going to take time. We could give them, as a board, clear direction on what we're looking for, and then let them work on that. So that was my opinion on, you know, how we kind of handle that? Is everybody comfortable with that, or have a different idea, or think I'm way out in left field, or?
I think it's great. I think the recommendation summary and having those notes really helped kind of boil that 96-page document down quite well. So thanks for pulling all that data together. I don't know who was behind the recommendation study, but I loved skimming through that.
Thank you. Everybody, the committee idea, I mean, we just, like I said, I don't want to committee things to death, but I think it's a big enough and an important enough issue that not just a couple of us or a couple members, that everybody thinks they know everything about everything, but we actually take the time and come up with something that's, you know, it's gonna work for the park for years to come, so.
Being our largest asset, I think that should be committee-based. So in that fallen or safety and security or something like that, I think a true committee for this, not that, like you said, Rick, committee it to death, but this is an important step.
Yeah, no, and we'll reach out to the members, and I mean, we'll form a committee. It don't have to be too large, but enough to have enough information to provide dialogue, but that's kind of our next step if everybody's if, you know, you feel it's appropriate.
Are we gonna set some kind of timeline?
Yes, I mean, Kelly, yes, is on the other, I mean, once we figure out how many people, you know, we feel is appropriate, I can work and digest this information, then we'll have some milestones built in there that we want, you know, certain action items by certain dates, so it doesn't drag on. You know, that's my fear there. I don't want it to, you know, sometimes you start looking at something and 3 years later, you're still waiting for something. That's not what we're looking for.
And that's what I would encourage, in the fact that, you know, just the recommendation on the type of boat. You know, the recommendation and showing everything else is those type of boats you get lengths that are 15 foot deep and remain 200, 250 feet away from shore, otherwise you get the shore erosion.
Yeah,
It's only, can't get it
yeah.
worse. So
And I think we all agree that's one part of it. I mean, there's several facets to it, you know, there's boats, types, wakes, speed, boat stay. I mean, the health of the quality of the fish, the health of the, I mean, there's lots of issues, so we need to, my goal was that we do it, you know, collectively instead of trying to just deal with one issue and then, you know, a year later, we said, well, that wasn't very, now we gotta change it because someone wants to do something different, so.
So, so what I can do is, I'll put a couple of recommendations together, send it to the board. Yes, I think the next steps are, this is a monster as far as there's a lot of stuff that we could attack on this, but we have to be focused and we have to be time bound on that. So, I'll put a couple of recommendations together, circulate it to the board, and then, we can start with the members.
And we absolutely want member input, so those that are at home listening and you know, make sure you reach out to us and we want your involvement in that and we'll get that put together again, you know, as long as that's the whole board's comfortable with that. And I haven't heard anything that, so now's your chance to speak up.
Well, this is Jim.
Hold on, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that the whole committee idea, especially having members at large, I guess you would say, on that committee is probably the best way to approach it.
Thank you. Did someone else have a comment?
Yeah, I did. Jeff, did you put together the recommendations that you sent out or
Yes.
spreadsheet or the?
Yeah,
Because-
I put that together.
Yeah. All right, because like in number 2, when we talked about the flow aeration system in the comments was it's not feasible. And so those are the kind of questions that I would want to ask. Why wouldn't, you know, if we need to answer, why isn't it feasible?
Right.
Yep, fair point.
Yeah, and not to speak for Jeff, I mean, he just put that together for me and for us, because, you know, if we were gonna implement this today, how would we do it? We're not gonna, well, spend $1 million on something today. I mean, that's gonna take a lot more dialogue, so, and that's just a number thrown out there, don't anybody?
Okay, so my suggestion is to remove the comment before you give them committee to work on, because if I'm gonna go there and look at that, and say, well, it's not feasible, am I really gonna pay much attention to it, or even work through if it is feasible,
Okay.
or can be feasible?
Right, fair point. The comment not feasible is comments that were brought up during our meeting with RLS and PLM in the fall. And the not feasible comment was in their experience, aeration systems you can spend a lot of money on, but the return on investment and improvement on that lake is not going to be at the top of the return on the value versus some of the other things that are in that study. So that's where that not feasible came from, but it's a fair
Yeah.
point. We need to leave it open and then have the discussion.
Yeah, we don't want to form any decisions, that's what you,
Yep.
Kelly, I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments, and we'll move on? Okay, the next item, Jim.
Last one is, we've received a lot of emails and phone calls about the golf carts across the street that were stored at Lake Monterey store across the street.
Superior Carts.
Superior Carts. Since Superior Carts is no longer, we heard the members with what are we gonna do, how do we get our carts, how do we get our pontoons. So had a couple of meetings with the owner of Monterey Pine Store in regards to those carts and pontoons. The members did pay Superior Carts. It appears Superior Carts did not pay in rent to the owner, so those carts have been locked up. But we do have an agreement with the owner that he is not going to hold the Sandy Pines membership carts and pontoons as hostage for this current situation that he has with Superior Carts. So we have a process in place where he's going to release those carts and pontoons. We'll put a couple of weekend dates out there. There will be a waiver that our Sandy Pines members will need to go over and sign off on those carts as is. Because again, this was a Superior Carts store and the owner has no idea what Superior Carts was doing with those carts. I have personally walked over there and looked through those carts. They all look in good condition. However, I have seen work orders on some of them and it looks like there was some work that needed to be done and I cannot tell whether that work was done or not. So we'll get the material, we'll get the carts and the pontoons out. We're going to have to sign off on as is, and you'll be able to get that back in your possession as soon as possible. We'll pick 2 weekends, and as soon as we have a date for that, we will announce that to the membership, and then we'll get you your stuff back. That's all I have.
Thank you. And I just want to thank Jeff personally on that account. Again, this is something that truly has nothing to do with Sandy Pines, the organization. It directly affects our members, and we've heard a lot about it through the administration and through member services. They have concerns, and Jeff has worked with the property owner to navigate that so our members can get their stuff. I mean, it could be the point where it's just between those 3 legally to work it out. But this is, Sandy Pines going above and beyond to try to help the membership, be the mediator, to get their property back so they can go on about their business and then work it out. So again, I just want to, thank Jeff for reaching out and working with them. And this is something that's going above and beyond for our members that, it's just something we felt was appropriate to do to help our membership. So if you hear people out there or they have comments, please pass that along that, again, we're just trying to facilitate that is all we are. It really has nothing to do with us as an organization, but them as members, we're looking out for their interests.
Right. One last thank you though, finance. So thanks to Kimberly and the team on the finance. I know when I first started here, the finances that we were reviewing in September, which was my first board meeting, was July financials. And we're sitting here in March and we're reviewing February financials. So one of the things that we tasked the finance group and team was to get as close to that date as possible, and right now on average they've been closing the months in about 7 to 10 days. So that's been a great job, so we can get more accurate financial information as soon as possible. So Kimberly, thank you for all that.
Thank you. Okay, so under old business, I have a couple things, I should have said in my comments, Winterfest, I just want to acknowledge that that was a great event. A lot of people came out, I was fortunate enough to attend and eat, I won't say how many hot dogs, but it was
Well, that's why I had to go
a
out more, huh?
good, it was well attended and everybody seemed to have a great time. And I would just personally like to thank the committee, the volunteers, there were several board members there, that aren't snowbirds, that helped, Kelly and Dennis and Jenny, and it was great to see everybody, and I just wanted to, say thank you, and hopefully that'll continue to grow, and it was a beautiful snowy Saturday, and everybody appeared to have a good time. And then, also, is there anything that the pool committee, I know you guys are still working through a lot of stuff, but is there anything you wanna bring up now or not, or we're waiting on more information?
Right now, this is Brian Elling,
Thank
there's
you.
not a lot to share.
Okay,
We've got a landing page, we're gonna be continuing to field questions, and I think once the park starts seeing some activity, we'll pick up those conversations again so that we can keep the dialogue flowing.
so,
But not a lot to add, updates have been in footprints to date, and I think it's pretty well covered. Ellen, you wanna share anything else?
No, there's really nothing left to say. We just, once we get moving again, we start collecting more data and get ready to maybe make a proposal.
super, and thank you guys, I know you've worked diligently on that, and with staff as well, have been very active in that process, and I'm confident we'll have a good product to bring forward and let people make a decision on. So does anybody else have any old business? Hearing none? Oh, I'm
This
sorry.
is Jenny.
Go ahead, Jenny. I'm
Sorry.
Yep.
I'm just wondering if there's anything further on the financing for selling, Sandy Pines sites.
Yes, so we continue to have discussions. We started with 12, we're down to, I would say, 1.5. And the reason why I say 1.5 is there's one that is very open to doing this with us. The half is putting a lot of roadblocks in place to not really make it happen. Right now, we have put a proposition and a value statement and a proposition out there as to why we need it. They're aligned with what we have on paper right now. They've kicked it over to their lawyers, and their lawyers are reviewing it. Once they have any questions, they'll review it with Joel on our side, and then hopefully we can get some sort of agreement drafted. But it's been a lot of work to get to that point, and so right now it's being reviewed by their lawyers. Hopefully they'll approve it and kick it over to us. So timing, we're trying to get it as quick as possible right now. So I don't have any timing for you, Jenny.
Okay, no problem. That's just a lot of people are asking that question, so I thought I'd get it out there again.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? New business? Hearing none, under member comments, obviously, we're closed to the member participation as far as being on site today. But again, I would ask, always feel free, not just on this stuff, but anything, to reach out to the board of directors email. We will return it to you, maybe not as quick as some anticipate, but we will respond and we'll get back to you. If you have a member service question, please call member services. If you have a security, public safety officer question, contact the public safety office. An administration question, contact the administration. I can't say enough, it's not secret squirrel. We'll get the information. We're not trying to keep anything from anybody, and just remember that that's your best way to look at things. If you got FEMA questions on the North Shore Shelter Building, there's a page for that on our website that you can ask, and the value in that is then everybody sees the same question and everybody sees the same answer, and we don't lose so much in translation on what someone interprets or thinks or their version of it. And again, I would just ask that Facebook is not the formal communication source for the board of directors or the Sandy Pines If you have a question, reach out directly to the Sandy Pines site member that you need to talk, whether it's administration, public safety, that's all we ask. So with that, please reach out to us and we'll get you the information, the most accurate and timely information that we can. And that's all I would ask. Is there any other comments from any board members?
Hey, this is Chad.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to go back to the Superior Carts situation.
Yes.
And just give some people some feeling of security. I know the owner of Superior Carts very well, and he's a very honorable human being, and it's his intent. There is carts stored here, but most of the carts that are stored are at his Allegan facility. And it's his intent to hire somebody to bring those carts back so people can, claim their cart. So I would just say, if anybody has any questions, please contact me and I'll contact Jeremy. My son worked for him 2 years ago and contacted him last week. And he has full intentions on making things right with everybody here.
Great, that's great to hear, and again, it's not our position either way, it's none of our business.
Right.
The other side of it, we're just trying to work with Jeremy and the owner of the property and our members to seamlessly do whatever we can do to help to get that back, but thanks for that's great to hear.
Yeah, it will happen, it will be back, and people will get their carts back, so.
No, thank you, Chad,
I
because
don't believe it's an issue at all.
thank you, Chad, because in the emails that I have been receiving, it's all been about the Monterey store across the street. I haven't received any emails on the Allegan, so I didn't even know there was any store there, so that's great to hear that we got some way to get that back, so thank you.
No, and if you need my help in mediating or being in between this or
Facilitating it,
facilitate this,
Yeah, for sure.
I'm happy to get involved.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Any other board comments?
And move we adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn, is there support?
Support.
Jim?
Okay.
Been moved and supported to adjourn the March 20, 2020, Jenny, meeting. Anybody, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. Thank you guys very much. I know it's difficult and you're probably tired of listening to me talk, but thanks, and I hope everybody's safe and happy.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.